This morning we continue reading from the second chapter of St. Luke, starting with the 35th verse and reading through the 37th. Do you have your Bibles ready?
Today, Columbia presents to its nationwide audience the 109th in its series of devotional periods, heard each week at this time over some of these stations. Wings Over Jordan comes to you today from the studios of WGAR, Cleveland. To its vast Sunday morning audience, Columbia presents again, Wings Over Jordan.
Over my head, I see trouble in the air.
The main thing I remember about Wings Over Jordan was how well they sounded.
Somewhere.
It's like a soap. Every Sunday morning, you knew you were going to hear the Wings Over Jordan. Now, you didn't know what kind of song they were going to sing, but you knew whatever they sang was going to be great.
I hear music in the air. Over my
You're a traitor if you didn't have Wings Over Jordan on. What? Don't you know what day this is? Don't you know who comes over the air?
There must be a God somewhere.
I remember distinctly setting aside that hour every Sunday to listen to the words of Glenn Settle and then to hear the voices of that very great choir sing.
I think what I remember most is going to Sunday school after leaving the program on and hardly missing a beat all the way to church because everybody was tuned in to Wings Over Jordan.
You would hear that, I heard the South Band singing, and that boy, you know, if you was outside, you'd run to try to get to the radio so you could hear it.
They sang in Harlem, and I was with them there on a Sunday night when the first crowd in a church was in excess of 3,000, and that crowd didn't want to leave at the end of the concert.
The sound was the bass section. Well, I was a part of one of the greatest bass sections that I've ever heard. But we were always there. If you listen, sometimes you have to strain to hear the tenor part, or the bass part, or the contralto. The bass section, even in radio broadcasts, we had our separate microphone. And that's one thing that Worth Kramer, when he found he had this bass section, he exploited it.
The moment we heard Wings, we knew that we had a property there that was very good, very good. There was authority, there was quality in the singing. And if you're experienced at all in the business, you get a sense of the balance, you get a sense of the possibilities among the soloists, and also the flexibility of the singers, how well they're able to handle musical ideas.
Music presented by the Wings Over Jordan Choral Ensemble, directed by Worth Kramer, director of the Concerts Division at WGAR.
And they were right on him. I mean, right under his fingers. There was always a response. Whenever he asked for something, it was right there. It was an exceptional group.
But everywhere the choir went, people clamored to see them. They wanted to see them in person because they had heard them on the air. And they wanted to see Reverend Settle because his voice was so interesting or soothing that they wanted to see just who this man was. In fact, one lady came up at a concert and said, "Oh, I just want to touch the hem of your garment."
To me, it was the feeling that they put into it. People used to tell me that they would walk up and down the street. People would have their doors open, their windows open, and it's just something that would just hit you with the theme song of Go Down Moses, Way Down in Egypt Land. And it was just a feeling that all of us had when we sang it. It just did something to us. It lifted us up.
I see trouble in the air.
The purpose of Wings Over Jordan was to spread goodwill and brotherhood. In 1938, when the choir was started, the country had not too long been out of the Deep Depression. There was a great deal of sadness, there was a great deal of resentment, there was a great deal of prejudice, and particularly among the blacks, they had nothing to look up to, really. So Reverend Settle used the choir and the music of the spirituals as a bridge to create brotherhood and goodwill and understanding between the races.
I do remember one. This was in Georgia. This was in a church, a huge white church. And we had assembled in robes and everything, getting ready to come on stage. Martha Spearman called this to our attention. She said, there's something going on that we're part of that's not right. And that's Martha being one of the older women in the choir. We all respected and listened to her. She said, just look out there. And we cracked the curtain and look. The whole downstairs was solid white. The balcony was solid white. And we told Reverend Settle, in no uncertain terms, that he arranged that if the white audience is going to sit downstairs, we would do 2 concerts. And we did that in Georgia. That had never been done in that church.
Reverend Settle had a philosophy that every generation builds a platform for the next generation to stand on. And certainly Wings Over Jordan built the platform for the civil rights movement.
Just a closer walk with me.
On this program, Reverend Settle presented the outstanding leaders of the black community as speakers. This was another opportunity to portray to America that there were very great people within the black race.
All those people had a forum on the Wings Over Jordan broadcast, and that created quite a controversy, as you can imagine. Everybody in the South said, yeah, let them sing, but get those off the air. But CBS, to their credit, did not take the talkers off the air.
Reverend Settle wanted to maintain the spirituals in their natural origin without instrumental accompaniment. For instance, if some slave had been mistreated, they'd think about Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, taking me home out of all of this misery. Then if they had a joyous day, great day, what a beautiful day.
Basically, they had to do with liberation from the shackles of slavery, both physical and psychological. And I think they will always, if we're going to preserve our culture correctly, must always preserve those songs, because in a large measure, they brought us over from slavery to the measure of freedom that we have now.
Some of the other major events that we can attribute to Wings' accomplishments, the fact that they broadcast nationally around the world through the BBC facilities. They participated in the Friendship Bridge series that explored and developed international relationship between North America and South America. Wings was able to attract about 75,000 paid audience at the Cleveland Stadium, with about 25 other thousand being turned away, clamoring to get in. Wherever Wings sang, audiences were turned away because people were just dying to hear them sing.
If today's children knew how much was invested and the things that they are enjoying today, the rock and roll, the everything, has its base in that music. And they should learn to cherish the source. And we should tell them the source. the source is those early pioneers in music who did it not only for entertainment, but as a source of nourishment to the human soul and body.
The greatest thing about the spiritual is that not only is it unique to this country, you don't have it any place else in the world.
Get away from all this stuff and you're getting away from the best of yourself. The very best that's in you.
You could do research and go back to that time period and say, well, what were some of the outstanding things that took place in radio? That had to be one of them.
Wings Over Jordan gave me that sense of belonging, that sense of being a part of a wider society than just my little hometown, because I was listening to somebody way over there coming across on the air that I could identify with. Thanks, Wings Over Jordan.